Watch this shocking footage of Oscar winner Gene Hackman, who has been notoriously reclusive in recent years, making an appearance in public for the first time in quite some time. How fantastic is rolling! To live the life of a legend is to be always in the limelight, to be the object of unending adulation, and to make news with each step you take. A unexplained and contentious death, on the other hand, is sure to grab headlines everywhere. The media flew into a panic when Elvis Presley's body was found in his Graceland residence, as more than 1,000 news outlets reported on the terrible incident. At this very moment, everyone is wondering how Gene Hackman died so quickly and mysteriously. His wife's final phone conversation altered the course of events, just when everyone believed they had the whole story figured out. At long last, the reality is starting to surface. The conjecture surrounding their demise. Some fresh information has surfaced after the terrible murders of Gene Hackman and his wife. A thunderclap shook Hollywood and the globe upon hearing of Gene Hackman's death. His wife Betsy Arakawa and their dog were discovered lifeless at their Santa Fe, New Mexico home on February 26, 2025, sending shockwaves across the country. Hackman, who retired from filming at the age of 95, left an indelible impression with performances in seminal films like The French Connection and Unforgiven, for which he received 2 Oscars for his straightforward acting. His 65-year-old classically music-loving wife has been his rock in a life away from the limelight. Nevertheless, the manner in which they passed away transformed sorrow into a tempest of curiosity, uncertainty, and subtle speculations that ensnared minds. The couple's home on Old Sunset Trail in Hyde Park was met with a mix of confusion and sadness when deputies from the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office arrived at approximately 1:45 in the afternoon. In a mudroom close to the kitchen lay Hackman's lifeless body, attired in gray sweatpants, a blue long-sleeve shirt, and brown slippers. Nearby, a cane and sunglasses indicated that he was in his twilight years, though he continues to follow his routine. An open prescription bottle was on a counter next to Betsy as she lay sprawled out on the floor of a restroom. Like falling leaves, pills rained down on her. 2 of their 3 dogs, one inside the home and one outside, were still alive when they found Zinner, a Kelpie mix originally identified as a German Shepherd, dead in a closet nearby. The stillness and the appearance of the corpses suggested that they had been there for some time, hidden from view. According to Sheriff Aidan Mendoza, who spoke with news reporters on February 27, 2025, the terrible tragedy was odd enough to warrant further investigation. But he was careful to note that there were no obvious indicators of violence, such as gunshot holes, cutthroats, or broken windows, that would indicate an intruder. The absence of conflict did little to alleviate the tense atmosphere. The dry, high air of Santa Fe was causing the corpses to begin to decompose, and some even speculated that they were partially mummified, suggesting that they had been missing for at least a few days, if not weeks. The small device that kept Hackman's heart rate normal, his pacemaker, sent a chilling signal. 9 days before they were discovered, on February 17, it stopped functioning. Mendoza stated that it was quite probable that the 9 days following Hackman's passing were a portal through which other marvels might be accessed. The sudden and unexpected deaths of 2 humans and a dog in the same house piqued the public's interest, and they began to speculate right away. The sheriff's office quickly ruled out carbon monoxide poisoning, despite the fact that some worried a secret threat may have gotten beyond the walls. The couple's tests came back negative, and the New Mexico gas firm that was brought in to inspect the site discovered a tiny leak, nothing so serious that it could have killed 3 people. Since the fire brigade did not find any evidence of gas, the idea quickly died out, but new ones emerged as soon as the old ones faded. Maybe in their lowest point, the couple decided to end it together. Some assumed so because of the medications Betsy had on hand, even though no letter was found. Also, it was hard to read their emotions because of how private they were. Perhaps they were both struck down by a disease, an unfortunate turn of events that escalated in their isolated location. All of their attention was captivated by the news, giving the impression that it is a plot from one of Hackman's movies. On February 28, 2025, X was abuzz with activity. Some are upset by the death of a legendary actor, while others are coming up with crazy theories. The presence of mummified corpses and a lifeless dog led one individual to express extreme suspicion. Another downplayed the speculation, attributing it to their age and peaceful lifestyle, requesting that everyone avoid them. But the truth remained out of reach, and the sheriff's deputies continued searching and retrieving items from the residence. The hope was that the combination of 2 cell phones, a thyroid medication, a blood pressure prescription called diltiazem, and Tylenol would illuminate the shadows. Hackman lived a life brimming with polarities. A ruggedly charming actor who retired to Santa Fe following his final film in 2004 for a life of peace and quiet. After being married for 21 years, he and Betsy settled into a life away from the bright lights of Hollywood, embraced by the rugged beauty of the Southern Rockies. According to his friends, he was deciding to take it easy, painting and writing books in his spare time while Betsy ran the household. He was frail at 95 years of age. He outlived many of his contemporaries, despite living with heart problems and a pacemaker. While he relaxed, Betsy, who was 30 years younger, would fill the air with piano music. It was almost touching, a squad that persevered through the years to the end. The death of the dog added another twist to the plot. The lack of food and water may have been the cause of Zinna's death when she was discovered imprisoned in the bathroom closet. Some contemplation, considering the range of possible durations. Further information has surfaced since actor Gene Hackman passed away. His dog probably died of thirst, according to a recent analysis. Why, though, was it kept away? Was it suffocated before or after they did, or did it pass out afterwards? One of the dogs is walking outside, and the other is near Betsy. Both of them are alive and well. They remained silent. They were merely observing the events unfold. In the hopes that it may provide some answers, the sheriff's deputies awaited a corpse search for Zinna. Unfortunately, it was yet another mismatched component. On March 1, 2025, the investigation had entered its 5th day, and the demand for answers was increasing. After Hackman's Alzheimer's disease was brought up, some people wanted to know if it was involved. After Betsy died away, did he get so absorbed in his thoughts that he couldn't summon assistance? Problems? Was he cognizant of the fact that Ms. Hackman had passed away? I can tell you that he was in a very advanced stage of, but I find that question difficult to respond. Some others stared at her medicines, thinking she may take too many and then abandon him till his heart stopped beating. There were no external injuries, according to early autopsies, thus a violent death was ruled out. However, every seemingly commonplace notion was sucked in by the suspicious tag. Into the gloom. They were discovered by a maintenance worker who, upon noticing the front door open, peered through a window. This piqued people's curiosity, but provided no real leads. Theories circulated like desert dust, with no clear winner. There were rumors of a murder-suicide, but no evidence of a weapon was found. Tests put an end to the gas theory and confirmed that the residence was perfectly fine, dispelling other theories that pointed to a natural explanation, such as a passing illness or an airborne particle. When Betsy left, some even questioned whether Hackman's heart broke. He couldn't bear to be apart from her, a lovely notion. His pacemaker stopped on February 17th, and based on their appearances, it appeared as though she may have gone first, abandoning him in a house that became a grave. It was all speculation, though, until the medical examiner gave his or her final approval. Not a single assumption had been evaluated. As March progressed, the situation remained unresolved, causing unending mental anguish. Hackman's relatives. His granddaughter Annie, daughters Elizabeth and Leslie from his first marriage, and his great-granddaughter Annie, all spoke out in their grief, praising him as a man adored and respected by millions, but to them simply Dad and Grandpa. Their suffering was genuine, piercing through the incessant speculation. Sheriff Mendoza promised to provide more updates, and he did so on March 7, 2025. All the speculation about how they died was put to rest by the diagnosis of Hackman's heart disease and Alzheimer's, as well as Betsy's hantavirus, an uncommon disease caused by rats. But back when the facts weren't in yet, the world was scrambling to fill the void, losing a legend in the process. Much of the uproar centered on their manner of death, but it also prompted discussions about celebrity, personal space, and the precariousness of human existence. Hackman, who had previously chosen a life of secrecy, became a film giant again after his death, although his final chapter was absent. The uncertainty caused by medications, a motionless canine, and a timeline with gaps that maintained the tale moving, demonstrating that he could still captivate an audience despite his lack of vocalization. Even though we identified the disease that killed them, a fresh piece of information from Arakawa's phone call threw our timetable for a loop. How is this different now? Who will be found guilty depends on this phone call. So let's find out the secrets that everyone has been trying to find. Will Pac-Man, the actor and business whiz who played Gene Hackman, amassed an estimated $80 million throughout his acting career. Unfortunately, his will was a source of much family strife and legal complications. His 3 children from his first marriage, Christopher, Elizabeth, and Leslie, are entangled in a complex legal battle over his will, which he wrote 30 years ago in 1995, to fight for the possessions they believe are rightfully theirs. Betsy Arakawa, Hackman's wife of 34 years, was to inherit all of his possessions, according to his will, which he last revised in 2005. Everything associated with his name, including his wealth and property, was supposedly to be hers. In Santa Fe, New Mexico, on a large 12-acre property valued at $3,800,000, they had enjoyed a tranquil existence together, a spot they had carved out for themselves ever since they arrived in the 80s. However, Hackman's fortune lay in more than simply one mansion. He amassed $80 million over the course of his lengthy career from a variety of sources, including a 1,978 Superman role that earned $2 million, a 1,971 French Connection role that earned $100,000, and other incomes and real estate in Montecito and Pebble Beach, California. The classically trained Betsy never had a child with Hackman. From what he recorded all those years ago, it seems she was the sole intended recipient. Just days before Hackman's heart stopped beating, Betsy died of hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, an extremely rare illness transmitted through rat droppings. Everything shifted after that. An exacting rule was outlined in her will. The law would consider her and Hackman's deaths to have been simultaneous if they occurred within 90 days of one another. Her belongings would be donated to charity once her medical costs were paid. That law was only enforced 7 days later, because she passed away on February 11 on February 18. Hackman, who suffered from severe Alzheimer's disease and heart problems, survived long enough to inherit her possessions. Upon his death, they were donated to charity, just as she had requested. He has nothing to leave his 3 children, left with a will that failed to mention a single name. Christopher, now 65 years old, Elizabeth, now 62 years old, and Leslie, now 58 years old, were left bewildered. In 1989, Hackman told the New York Times that his acting career caused him to become overly focused on himself, causing him to spend months away from his children. He was very forthright about the negative impact this had on his home life. But he had healed his relationship with his kids over time. He still embraced his son Christopher, even as an adult, and made an effort to be there for his girls.